We are covering the principal-agent relationship for the national portion of the real estate exam, focusing on how agency is established as a legal relationship where one person is authorized to act on behalf of another. On the exam, you will frequently encounter questions that require you to distinguish between a client and a customer, which is the most critical distinction in agency law. A principal or client is someone who has entered into an agency relationship with a broker and to whom the broker owes full fiduciary duties, while a customer is a third party who receives fair and honest treatment but does not have the broker representing their specific interests. The exam will test your knowledge of how these relationships are formed through express agreement, implied actions, ratification, or estoppel. Express agency is the most common form created through a clear oral or written agreement, such as a listing contract. However, you must be cautious of implied agency, where your actions suggest you are representing someone even if no contract exists. If you start giving advice on offer prices or negotiating terms for a buyer without a representation agreement, you have likely created an implied agency, and the exam expects you to know that you are now legally bound by fiduciary duties. Another method is ratification, which occurs when a principal accepts the benefits of an agent's unauthorized act after the fact. For instance, if you show a home and bring a buyer to a seller without a listing, and the seller later agrees to the deal and pays your commission, they have ratified the agency. You also need to understand agency by estoppel, where a principal leads a third party to believe someone is their agent. In these cases, the law prevents the principal from later denying the relationship to avoid liability. To remember your fiduciary duties, you should use the mnemonic OLD CAR, which stands for obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accounting, and reasonable care. Obedience requires you to follow all lawful instructions from your principal, but the exam often tries to trick you by asking if you should follow illegal instructions, such as hiding a material defect or discriminating against a protected class. The answer is always no, because your duty of obedience does not override the law. Loyalty is the heart of the relationship, requiring you to put the principal's interests above everyone else, including your own commission. Disclosure is a major testing point where you must reveal all material facts to your principal that could influence their decision. Confidentiality is unique because it is the only duty that survives the termination of the agency relationship, meaning you can never share a client's private information, even after the transaction is complete. Accounting involves the proper handling of all client funds and documents to avoid commingling. Finally, reasonable care ensures you perform your duties with the skill and diligence of a competent professional. A common exam trap is assuming that paying a commission creates agency. You must remember that who pays the fee does not determine who the agent represents. Focus on the authorization and the fiduciary bond rather than the source of the compensation. You will also see questions about the difference between a general agent, like a property manager, and a special agent, like a real estate broker, who has limited authority for a single transaction. Mastering these definitions and identifying the specific duties owed in various scenarios will ensure you navigate the agency questions on the national exam with confidence.